The warning shot. High Commander Xerxes of the Zyraxian Empire stood before the massive holographic display, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the soft blue light of countless star systems. His secondary hearts quickened as the alert flashed across the screen. An unknown vessel had crossed into restricted space near the Helios sector. Magnification maximum, he ordered, his voice echoing through the crystalline chamber of the fortress station Imperium. The image zoomed in, revealing a sleek vessel unlike anything in the Empire's database. It was smaller than their standard warships, its hull decorated with unfamiliar markings and what appeared to be primitive chemical thrusters. Lieutenant Commander Naira, her translucent scales shifting from blue to green with anxiety, approached the display. "Sir, we've identified it. It's from Earth." The chamber fell silent. Earth, the forbidden world, the planet of savages who had refused to bow to the Empire's supremacy centuries ago. They had been deemed too primitive to bother with, their system marked as quarantine space. "Impossible," Xerxes hissed through his respiratory vents. "They barely had atmospheric flight when we last observed them. This must be some trick by the Centaurian rebels." "Negative, sir," Naira responded, her neural interface streaming data directly to the main display. "The quantum signature matches our historical records of Earth technology, but the advancement level, it's beyond our current understanding." The vessel, now identified as the Stormbreaker, maintained a steady course through space. It made no attempt to hide, its shields lowered, weapons powered down. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," announced Technical Officer Dren, his crystalline fingers dancing across the light interface. "The message is in perfect Zyraxian." "Play it," Xerxes commanded, his posture rigid with ancestral pride. A calm, confident voice filled the chamber. "This is Captain Victoria Nash of the Earth spaceship Stormbreaker. We come with a warning and an opportunity. The Zyraxian Empire stands at a crossroads. What happens next depends entirely on your response." Xerxes laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "The audacity, one primitive ship dares to threaten the Empire, deploy the 15th Battle Group. Let's remind them why we rule the stars." Within minutes, 20 Zyraxian warships surrounded the lone Earth vessel, their crystalline hulls gleaming with deadly intent. Each was armed with enough firepower to reduce a small moon to atoms. "Earth vessel," Xerxes broadcast, "your intrusion into Imperial space is an act of war. Surrender now and we may spare your lives for study." Captain Nash's response was unexpected. "High Commander Xerxes, I was hoping you'd be the one to answer. Your reputation for hasty decisions precedes you. Before you make another one, I suggest you scan the space around your ships more carefully." Xerxes gestured impatiently and Naira initiated a deep space scan. Her scales turned white with shock. "Sir, there's something wrong with space itself, the quantum fabric around our ships. It's been altered." "Impossible," Xerxes began, but before he could finish, Captain Nash's voice returned. "A demonstration, then. Notice how your ships are now enclosed in what we call a Klein bubble. The laws of physics inside are somewhat negotiable." To the horror of the Zyraxian commanders, their mighty warships began to move, without engine power. Like leaves caught in an invisible wind, the vessels drifted into a perfect geometric pattern. "What sorcery is this?" Xerxes demanded, his exoskeleton crackling with rage. "Not sorcery, High Commander, science. Your empire has ruled through fear and technological superiority for too long. But while you stagnated, humanity learned, grew, and most importantly, innovated." The Klein bubble shimmered, and suddenly all weapon systems on the Zyraxian ships went dark. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply ceased to exist as if they had never been installed. "We've spent centuries watching your empire expand, subjugate, and destroy. We could have stopped you at any time, but we needed to understand if you were capable of change. Today's demonstration is a courtesy, a chance for your empire to evolve." Xerxes's mind raced. If this single ship could neutralize a battle group, "What are your demands?" he asked, trying to maintain his commanding tone. "No demands, High Commander. Only a choice. In exactly one standard cycle, we will return with a proposal for the Empire's peaceful integration into the Galactic Confederation of Free Worlds. Your response to that proposal will determine whether Earth's full fleet reveals itself." "Full fleet," Naira whispered, her scales now pulsing with patterns of fear. The Klein bubble dissolved, restoring the Zyraxian ships to normal space. Their weapons reappeared, functioning perfectly as if nothing had happened. "One cycle, High Commander," Captain Nash concluded. I suggest you use it wisely. The S-Stormbreaker vanished, not through any recognizable form of faster-than-light travel, but by simply ceasing to exist in that region of space. In the following hours, as reports flooded in from across the Empire, Xerxes learned that similar demonstrations had occurred simultaneously in 12 other sectors. Each Earth ship had effortlessly neutralized the Empire's most powerful weapons. In his private chambers, Xerxes accessed the ancient records of Earth's quarantine declaration. The final notes from the survey team centuries ago read, "A primitive species barely worth monitoring. Their potential for advancement appears limited." As he stared at those words, a new message flashed across his screen. Surveillance satellites had detected massive energy signatures throughout Earth's quarantine zone, signatures that suggested not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of ships, all carrying the same advanced technology that had just humbled the Empire's finest fleet. The Empire had laughed at a lone ship. In one cycle, they would discover exactly how costly that laughter would be. Pride before the fall. The Imperial Palace on Zyrax Prime glittered like a mountain of living crystal, its spires reaching toward the triple moons that hung in the purple sky. Within its grand chamber, the Empire's highest-ranking officials gathered for an emergency session of the Supreme Council. Supreme Overlord Crixus, his ancient exoskeleton adorned with the ceremonial patterns of 1,000 victories, sat upon the crystalline throne. Around him, holographic projections of military commanders, planetary governors, and science directors filled the chamber with their ethereal presence. "You expect me to believe," Crixus began, his voice resonating through the chamber's crystal walls, "that a single Earth vessel neutralized our most advanced battle group without firing a shot." High Commander Xerxes stood at attention, his scales dulled with exhaustion after hours of emergency meetings. "Supreme Overlord, I witnessed it myself. They manipulated the very fabric of spacetime." "Impossible," thundered Grand Admiral Vexara, her hologram flickering with interference from her flagship's battle systems. "Our scientists have studied quantum manipulation for centuries. No civilization could have advanced so far without our knowledge." Science Director Xylix, his crystalline form radiating soft blues of contemplation, interfaced with the chamber's data systems. "The evidence is irrefutable. The Earth vessel demonstrated technology that defies our understanding of physics. Their Klein bubble, as they called it, operated on principles we've only theorized about." "Then they must have stolen it," declared Planetary Governor Nyx of the Helios sector, her form shimmering with aggressive reds. "Perhaps from the ancient precursor ruins we've found throughout the galaxy." In the shadows of the chamber, Intelligence Director Kyra remained silent, her scales shifting through patterns that reflected deep concern. She had accessed classified files that few in the Empire knew existed, files that suggested Earth's advancement had been noticed years ago, but ignored due to political pride. "Supreme Overlord," she finally spoke, her voice cutting through the heated debate, "there's more. Our deep space arrays have detected massive energy signatures throughout Earth's quarantine zone. The data suggests a fleet of unprecedented size." "A fleet," Crixus leaned forward, his exoskeleton creaking with age. "Show me." The chamber's holographic system displayed a three-dimensional map of Earth's territory. Thousands of energy signatures pulsed across the display, each representing a vessel of unknown capability. "They've been building this force for decades," Kyra continued. "Our analysts estimate their numbers exceed our combined fleets by a factor of 3. The chamber erupted in chaos. Governors demanded immediate military action. Commanders called for full mobilization. Scientists argued for diplomatic contact to study Earth's technology. "Silence," Crixus's command echoed through the crystal walls, temporarily dimming the chamber's lights. "We are the Zyraxian Empire. We have ruled the stars for 10,000 cycles. We will not be intimidated by primitives who barely left their atmosphere within living memory." As if in response to his words, every holographic system in the chamber suddenly activated simultaneously. Captain Victoria Nash's image appeared before them, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the agitated Zyraxians. "Honorable leaders of the Empire," she began, ignoring their shocked reactions, "I trust our demonstration has earned us a moment of your time." "How dare you intrude?" Crixus began, but his words died as he realized none of their security systems had detected the breach. "Your empire stands at a crossroads," Nash continued. We represent the Galactic Confederation of Free Worlds, an alliance of species who believe in cooperation rather than domination. We invite the Zyraxian Empire to join us. Grand Admiral Vexara laughed harshly. Join you, we could crush your worlds with a fraction of our fleet. Nash's expression remained unchanged. Let's examine that claim. The chamber's display shifted, showing detailed schematics of Zyraxian warships. Your Dreadnought-class vessels rely on crystalline matrix technology for weapons focusing, impressive but fundamentally flawed. Watch. Every weapon system in the chamber's display suddenly developed hairline fractures in their crystalline structures. A simple vibration at the right frequency, Nash explained, and your entire military infrastructure becomes rather fragile. Science Director Xylix's scales paled to white. She's right. Our technology, our entire civilization is based on crystalline matrices, if they can disrupt the molecular structure. We've had centuries to study your weaknesses, Nash continued. We chose not to exploit them, hoping you would evolve beyond your imperial ambitions naturally. That time has passed. Intelligence Director Kyra interfaced with her secure networks, her scales flooding with patterns of alarm. Supreme Overlord, we're detecting similar transmissions across all Imperial worlds. Every colonial governor, every military commander, every scientific institution, they're all receiving this message simultaneously. Your empire has 3 standard days to consider our proposal, Nash declared. Join the Confederation as equals or face the consequences of your choice. We've transmitted detailed terms to all your leaders simultaneously. Unlike you, we believe in informed decision-making at all levels. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. But the damage was done. Already, governors were receiving messages from their populations. Colonial worlds long oppressed by imperial rule began questioning their loyalty. Military commanders studied the weapon schematics, realizing their vulnerability. Supreme Overlord Crixus rose from his throne, his ancient form trembling with fury. Prepare the fleet, he commanded. All of it. We will crush these upstart humans and remind the galaxy why we have ruled for 10,000 cycles. But as the leaders filed out of the chamber, Intelligence Director Kyra accessed one final classified file, a psychological analysis of human behavior compiled over centuries of secret observation. The conclusion made her scales ripple with dread. Humans never show their full strength first. They always give their opponents a chance to back down. When they finally strike, they strike with overwhelming force. If you see their first wave, you've already lost. The Empire had 3 days to swallow its pride or face extinction. As Kyra watched the military preparations begin, she feared they had already chosen the path to their own destruction. Thunder from the void. The 3 days passed like a dying star's final moments. Despite Intelligence Director Kyra's warnings and the growing unrest among colonial worlds, Supreme Overlord Crixus made his choice. The Zyraxian Empire would not bow to threats, especially not from humans. Fleet Admiral Marcus Jensen stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Prometheus, his weathered face illuminated by tactical displays. The massive vessel, nearly twice the size of any Zyraxian ship, hung in the void at the head of humanity's hidden armada. Status report, Jensen commanded, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of human military evolution. Commander Olivia Drake, her dark skin contrasting with her pristine white uniform, interfaced with the ship's quantum AI. All battle groups report ready, Admiral, 5,000 ships in position. Klein field generators at full capacity. The Zyraxian fleet is exactly where we predicted they would be. Of course they are, Jensen said quietly. Pride makes them predictable. Lieutenant Patel opened a channel to all Earth vessels. Young Lieutenant Raj Patel, whose family had helped develop the quantum communication systems that made this operation possible, complied instantly. Channel open, sir. All ships standing by. Jensen took a deep breath. This is Fleet Admiral Jensen. For 3 centuries, humanity watched and learned while the Zyraxian Empire dominated and oppressed countless species. We advanced in secret, developed technologies they couldn't imagine, and built an armada they never saw coming. Today, we end their reign of terror. Execute Operation Thunderfall. Across 20 sectors of space, Earth's hidden fleet rippled into existence. Ships emerged from quantum shadows, their hulls gleaming with technology that made Zyraxian crystalline matrices look primitive by comparison. Aboard the Imperial Command ship Eternal Glory, Grand Admiral Vexara's scales flashed crimson with rage. Impossible. Our sensors show thousands of human vessels. Where did they come from? Multiple quantum signatures detected, her sensor officer reported, panic evident in his voice. They're everywhere behind us, above, below, we're surrounded. Before Vexara could issue orders, her tactical officer screamed, "Energy spike there." The space around the Zyraxian fleet suddenly transformed. Thousands of Klein bubbles materialized simultaneously, each containing dozens of Imperial ships. Inside these quantum domains, the laws of physics bent to human will. Commander Drake's voice was clinical as she reported, "Klein fields established. Initiating Phase 2. Aboard the Prometheus, Lieutenant Patel watched in awe as the battle unfolded. The human fleet wasn't just fighting, they were rewriting the rules of space combat itself. Zyraxian plasma beams, the pride of their military, curved back on their own ships. Crystalline hulls that had withstood centuries of conventional warfare shattered under precisely calculated harmonic frequencies. Quantum torpedoes phased through their strongest shields as if they didn't exist. "This isn't a battle," Commander Drake observed. "This is a demonstration of technological superiority." She was right. For every Zyraxian tactic, the human fleet had prepared a countermeasure centuries in advance. When they tried to retreat into hyperspace, they found their jump points collapsed by human quantum anchors. When they attempted to call reinforcements, they discovered their quantum communication networks had been transformed into entertainment channels, broadcasting their defeat to every corner of the Empire. Intelligence Director Kyra, watching from her secure bunker on Zyrax Prime, accessed the battlefield feeds with growing horror. The humans weren't just winning, they were systematically dismantling everything the Empire had built its military doctrine upon. A new transmission cut through the chaos of battle. Captain Victoria Nash's face appeared on every screen in both fleets. "This is your final warning. Your ships are disabled, not destroyed. Your crews are unharmed. Surrender now and join the Confederation as equals. Continue to resist, and we will have no choice but to demonstrate our full capabilities." Supreme Overlord Crixus, watching from his crystalline throne room, roared in defiance. "Never, the Empire does not surrender. Launch the planet breakers." The Empire's ultimate weapons, massive crystalline ships capable of shattering worlds, emerged from their hidden docks. Each one represented the pinnacle of Zyraxian military might, carrying enough firepower to reduce a planet to asteroid fields. Admiral Jensen's response was oddly gentle. "We wondered if you'd try this. Commander Drake, initiate Protocol Omega." What happened next would be written about in scientific journals for centuries. The human fleet, acting in perfect synchronization, generated a massive Klein field that encompassed not just ships, but entire sectors of space. Inside this quantum bubble, the planet breaker's crystalline structures began to sing, a pure haunting tone that built to a crescendo. "Harmonic resonance," Commander Drake explained to a stunned bridge crew. "Every crystal has a frequency at which it shatters. We've spent centuries calculating the exact resonance of Zyraxian technology." The planet breakers, the Empire's mightiest vessels, didn't explode or burn. They simply fell apart, their crystalline structures disintegrating into clouds of glittering dust that drifted through the battlefield like stellar snow. Through it all, not a single Imperial crew member died. The humans had developed their technology not just to win battles, but to preserve life, even the lives of their enemies. Intelligence Director Kyra, watching the Empire's greatest fleet reduced to drifting crystal fragments, finally understood. The humans hadn't just built better weapons or shields, they had fundamentally altered their approach to warfare itself. While the Empire thought in terms of destruction, humanity had learned to think in terms of transformation. Fleet Admiral Jensen's voice echoed through space once more. "To all Imperial forces, your fleet is neutralized, your technology is obsolete. Your choice remains the same: evolution or extinction. We await your response." In the silence that followed, as Imperial commanders stared at their useless weapons and shattered ships, a truth became crystal clear. The Empire hadn't just lost a battle. They had lost their entire way of life. The only question remaining was whether they would accept this new reality or force humanity to demonstrate just how much power they had been holding back. Above the battlefield, Earth's Armada hung in perfect formation, their quantum drives humming with enough power to reshape reality itself. They had prepared for this moment for centuries. Now they waited to see if the Empire would choose wisdom over pride. Empire in flames. The crystalline spires of Zyrax Prime no longer sparkled with their usual brilliance. Instead, they pulsed with the erratic rhythms of a civilization in chaos. News of the fleet's devastating defeat had spread across the Empire at quantum speed, impossible to contain or control. In the lower levels of the Imperial Palace, Intelligence Director Kyra watched her civilization crumble through thousands of data feeds. Colonial worlds were declaring independence. Military commanders were refusing orders. The carefully maintained structure of imperial power was shattering like a crystal struck at its resonance frequency. Director, her assistant's scales flickered with urgency. Supreme Overlord Crixus demands your presence in the emergency bunker. Deep beneath the palace, Kyra found not just Crixus, but a desperate gathering of the Empire's remaining leadership. Science Director Xylix huddled over quantum displays, his scales pale with exhaustion. Grand Admiral Vexara, recently returned from the devastating defeat, stood in a corner, her once-proud crystalline armor now dulled and cracked. "Tell them what you told me," Crixus commanded, his voice lacking its usual imperial resonance. Xylix's hands trembled as he manipulated the holographic display. "The humans, they're not just defeating us, they're systematically dismantling our entire technological base. Every quantum transmission, every crystalline matrix, every piece of advanced technology we possess, they've found a way to turn it all against us." "Impossible," Vexara snapped, but her protest lacked conviction. "Our technology is the foundation of our empire. It's taken us 10,000 cycles to develop." "And they've had centuries to study its weaknesses," Kyra interrupted. "While we watched them with arrogance, they watched us with purpose." The bunker's displays suddenly activated without command. The familiar face of Fleet Admiral Jensen appeared, but this time he wasn't alone. Beside him stood Dr. Hannah Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, and Ambassador David Chen, their chief diplomat. "Leaders of the Zyraxian Empire," Jensen began, "we're transmitting to every corner of your domain. What we say now, your entire population will hear." Before anyone could respond, Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "For 300 years, we studied not just your technology, but your culture, your history, your very nature. We learned that your crystalline biology influences everything, your technology, your hierarchy, your rigid thinking. We don't want to destroy this beautiful aspect of your civilization. We want to help it evolve." Ambassador Chen spoke next, his voice gentle but firm. "Already, 47 of your colonial worlds have requested membership in the Confederation. They've seen that we offer something the Empire never could: freedom to grow, to change, to become more than the sum of their crystalline parts." On countless worlds across the Empire, beings of all species watched and listened. On New Helios, former Governor Nix had already opened negotiations with Earth representatives. On the military fortress world of Crix Prime, General Daxon ordered his troops to stand down after witnessing human ships effortlessly neutralize their planetary defenses without causing a single casualty. In orbital shipyards, crystalline vessels were shutting down as their quantum cores resonated with frequencies broadcast by the human fleet. On research stations, scientists watched in awe as human technology rewrote the laws of physics they had thought immutable. "Your empire is already gone," Jensen continued. "Not because we destroyed it, but because your own people are choosing a different path. The only question is whether you will join them in building something new or cling to the shards of your broken empire until nothing remains." Kyra stepped forward, her scales shifting through patterns of revelation. "Supreme Overlord, they're right. I've analyzed every data point, every trend, every possibility. The Empire as we knew it ceased to exist the moment they revealed their true power. But they're offering us a chance to preserve our species, our culture, our future, just not as conquerors." "Listen to her," Dr. Rodriguez urged. "Your crystalline nature is not a weakness, it's a unique perspective that could enrich the Confederation. Imagine your scientists working alongside ours, discovering new applications for crystalline technology. Imagine your artists sharing your unique view of reality with hundreds of species. Imagine your children growing up in a galaxy where difference is celebrated, not suppressed." Throughout the Empire, the response was overwhelming. On world after world, Zyraxians and their subject species alike began to see a future beyond imperial control. Military bases transformed into cultural centers. Weapon factories retooled for peaceful applications of crystalline technology. Former imperial governors became leaders of a different kind, guides, helping their people transition to Confederation membership. In the bunker, Supreme Overlord Crixus watched his empire dissolve not through violence, but through choice. His ancient crystalline form seemed to age cycles with each passing moment. "The humans," he whispered, They could have destroyed us at any time, couldn't they? Yes, Kyra answered softly, but they chose a harder path. They waited, learned, and found a way to help us transform instead of destroying us. The question is, Supreme Overlord, will you do the same? The bunker fell silent as Crixus approached the quantum communicator. His decision would determine not just his fate, but the future of his entire species. Around him, the empire he had ruled was already transforming, its rigid crystalline structure not shattering, but reorganizing into something new and unprecedented. Outside the bunker, in cities and stations across Zyraxian space, crystals began to sing, not with the harsh resonance of destruction but with harmonies of change. The Empire was indeed in flames, but like the mythical phoenix of Earth legend, something new was emerging from its transformation. The age of the Empire was over. The age of collaboration was about to begin. All that remained was for the last crystal of Imperial power to decide, adapt or fade into the cosmic dust of history. New dawn. One standard year later, the grand meeting hall of the Galactic Confederation sparkled with a blend of crystalline architecture and advanced human engineering. The former Imperial Palace on Zyrax Prime had been transformed into the Interstellar Center for Cultural Exchange, its once imposing structure now open and welcoming to all species. Professor James Morgan, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stood before a diverse audience of humans, Zyraxians, and representatives from 100 other worlds. Behind him, a massive quantum display showed the revolutionary changes sweeping through former Imperial space. The integration of Zyraxian crystalline technology with human quantum mechanics has exceeded our wildest expectations, Morgan announced, his enthusiasm evident. What we once saw as incompatible approaches to understanding the universe have proven to be complementary. In the front row, former science director Xylix, now head of the Joint Scientific Initiative, nodded in agreement. His scales shimmered with patterns of excitement as he rose to join Morgan on stage. Together, they had pioneered the fusion of human and Zyraxian technologies, creating innovations that neither civilization could have achieved alone. Our latest breakthrough, Xylix announced, his translator perfectly conveying his joy, is the development of crystalline quantum processors. By combining human quantum manipulation with Zyraxian crystal matrices, we've created computing systems that can model entire galaxies in real time. Among the audience, former intelligence director Kyra sat beside her human counterpart, Director Michelle Wang of Earth's diplomatic corps. Both women had played crucial roles in the peaceful integration of their civilizations, turning centuries of surveillance and suspicion into a foundation for understanding. Did you ever imagine this? Wang asked quietly, gesturing to the hall filled with cooperation instead of conflict. Never, Kyra admitted, her scales showing patterns of contentment. We were so convinced of our superiority that we couldn't see the possibility of something greater than empire. The discussions were interrupted by a soft chime that resonated through the crystalline architecture. All eyes turned to the central platform, where Fleet Admiral Jensen and former Supreme Overlord Crixus prepared to make their historic announcement. Crixus, his ancient form now adorned with the simple markings of an elder statesman rather than an emperor, spoke first. One cycle ago, I stood in a bunker beneath this very building, watching my empire crumble. Today, I stand before you to celebrate its transformation into something far more precious. Partnership of equals. Jensen stepped forward, his uniform now bearing the combined insignias of Earth and the Confederation. The last of the Imperial holdout forces have accepted our offer of amnesty. The military conversion program is complete. Every weapon of war has been repurposed for exploration, research, or civil defense. From her seat in the diplomatic section, Captain Victoria Nash watched with satisfaction. The Stormbreaker, the ship that had triggered this revolution, was now a deep space exploration vessel, its advanced technology used to push the boundaries of known space. But our greatest achievement, Jensen continued, is not technological. It's the proof that different species with different biologies, different technologies, and different ways of thinking can not only coexist but thrive together. The quantum displays shifted to show images from across former Imperial space. Zyraxian crystal cities now housed universities where all species studied together. Former military shipyards produced vessels dedicated to scientific research and cultural exchange. The rigid hierarchies of the empire had been replaced by flexible networks of cooperation. Dr. Hannah Rodriguez, who had devoted her life to understanding Zyraxian culture, took the stage next. We've discovered something remarkable. The very crystalline nature that made the Zyraxians build their empire, their drive for order, structure, and perfection, has become the foundation for our most successful joint ventures. Their precision complements human creativity. Their stability balances our adaptability. Ambassador Chen added, the Confederation has grown stronger through this integration. Other species, seeing how we transformed conflict into cooperation, are now seeking membership. The age of empires is truly over. The age of collaboration has begun. In orbit above Zyrax Prime, the combined fleet of Earth and former Imperial vessels had been reorganized into the Confederation Exploration Force. Commander Olivia Drake, now leading the first joint human-Zyraxian crew, prepared her ship for its maiden voyage into uncharted space. Status report, she commanded, looking around at her bridge crew, a mix of humans and Zyraxians working in perfect harmony. Lieutenant Raj Patel, working alongside a young Zyraxian communications officer named Lyra, responded with a smile. All systems synchronized, Commander. Crystalline quantum drive at full power. The stars await. Back in the Great Hall, Crixus and Jensen together activated a quantum crystalline matrix, a symbol of their united future. The massive structure began to pulse with light, its pattern spreading through the crystalline architecture of the entire city. On every world in Confederation space, similar matrices lit up in response, creating a network of light that symbolized their interconnected destiny. We stand at the dawn of a new era, Crixus declared, his voice carrying to every corner of known space. Not as conquerors or conquered, but as explorers and innovators. Together, we will discover wonders that neither of our civilizations could have imagined alone. As the ceremony concluded, Professor Morgan and Xylix unveiled their most ambitious project yet, a quantum crystalline map of the entire known galaxy, showing not just stars and planets, but the countless possibilities that lay ahead for their united civilization. The last imperial crystals had been transformed, not destroyed. The rigid structures of the past had become the foundation for a future of infinite potential. Earth had not just defeated an empire, they had helped birth a new kind of civilization, one that proved that the greatest power in the universe was not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to transform. As the combined fleet prepared to venture into unknown space, the crystalline spires of Zyrax Prime sparkled with a new light, not the cold brilliance of imperial might, but the warm glow of hope, discovery, and unlimited possibility.